This will be a walkthrough of the user interface for the Roku Streaming Stick 4K. If you've had any other Roku devices in the past, you will note that this is actually really similar to a lot of the other things that you've used in the past. But if this is your first time using a Roku device, this will help you navigate your way through what you're actually using. To start, you'll notice on the left-hand side, we are currently on the home page, which is actually all of our icons over here to the right. You'll notice that in the background, there is a seasonal background currently up, and you can change that to not show seasonal backgrounds if you want, or to have a permanent different style background. I'll show you how to do that a little later. Over on the right-hand side, each of these boxes is a channel that you have added to your Roku device. In the upper right-hand corner, just above Disney Plus here, you'll notice that mine says 3 of 23. That means I have 23 unique channels on this particular Roku device. Further to the right, you'll notice a big old ad right here because, well, Roku is an ad-supported device, so you're just going to have to get used to a rotating ad over on that side. Depending on your viewing habits, there's actually ways to mitigate some of the data collection that Roku does on you. Just above the ad, you will notice the time and the options menu, which is the asterisk key on your Roku remote. You'll notice that right now it is not highlighted, but does become highlighted when we actively select a channel. Selecting the asterisk key when we're on a channel will allow us to give feedback about that channel, check for an update, remove that channel from our Roku device, move the channel, or rate the channel based on your liking. If we select moving our channel, that will allow us to move it somewhere else in the grid and then select OK to change its location. And you can do that for any channel that you have. But that was our home location of our Roku device. Coming down, this is actually something that was added just this year. Never seen this pop up before, but there are ways to change this again later on, which is Ring in 2020 Roku channel. This is, again, another ad. As you can read over here on the right, free entertainment giveaways, trivia, 99-cent deals on particular items. So here you can see that they're going to be going through a couple of free giveaways. If you don't like seeing that, there's ways to take that away. Likewise, on the left-hand side, coming down, we have Featured Free. What this is a collection of all the featured free channels and content that you have access to via your Roku device. And you'll notice as I'm scrolling, each of these is coming from the Roku channel. If I come and try and find something different, so that's NFL Network, that's Roku channel. It's one that I have not heard of. This is NBC. So these are all things that you can access for free. Obviously, they will have advertising, but you can watch some things on your Roku device for free without needing a subscription to something like Netflix or Hulu. Coming down, we have search. Search is actually one of the most powerful features that the Roku device has over a lot of others because the Roku is an agnostic streaming device. It doesn't give preferential treatment to any one streaming service. It searches across any streaming service that you have added to your Roku device. So over here, you can kind of see it's giving you a smattering of what you could look for. You can use the voice activation on your remote to look for something. So in my case, I'm going to hold it down, Star Wars, and allow it to search for Star Wars. What this will do is show us, hey, here's a bunch of movies for Star Wars. Here is Roku Zone Star Wars, TV shows for Star Wars. And if I wanted to, as we saw, as I start scrolling through, you do see that some of them are from Disney Plus. So it's letting you know where they're coming from. Now, if I come back and I search for a person, so that's one thing Roku will allow you to do is search for a person, such as an actor, and not just a TV show or a movie. So in my case, if I search for, here we go, Mark Hamill over here, come down, you'll see it has a little person icon as opposed to some of these other things where it's a TV or a streaming. So we're going to select Mark Hamill over here on the right. It does give us a little information about him already, but coming over, what this will do is pull all places that he has appeared or voiced or anything. So here we go. He was in Genie, cartoon series. He's in a movie, Star Wars, movie, TV show. So it's pulling all of his information. And for any one of these, if we select over, it will tell us where we can access those particular movies or TV shows. So in this case, you have included with subscription to Disney Plus, or require subscription for Spectrum. You can get it from TNT, but requires a subscription, or you can buy it from Apple TV. Now, these are things that will help you figure out where the stuff is that you actively want to watch on your Roku device. And if we come all the way back and pop over, we're going to delete this real quick to show you that it does keep track of your searches. So if you're searching for a TV show, this list can get quite extensive. If you don't want to have a history of things that you've searched for, simply click the clear recent search, and then it goes back to the page that you saw before. Selecting back on the Roku remote, we're going to come back over to the search option on the far left, because we're going to come down to the movie store. This is the movie store powered by Vudu. Selecting right on the Roku remote brings us into what we can access from Vudu. Now, it's going to show you featured films, deals of the week. This really is a rental service, just like coming back and coming to the TV store, again powered by Vudu. These are things that you can come through and pick out what you would like to watch, purchase, whatever. There are ways to remove these from the side panel because, well, let's be honest, it could get annoying having things taking up space on the left-hand side that you're not actively using yourself. Coming down one more time, this is our streaming channels. Selecting right on the Roku remote, this is, again, streaming channels. This is how you're going to watch the majority of your streaming content. Right now, you can see this is the featured tab. If I come over, it's just showing a bunch of featured channel. If you notice in the lower right-hand corner of some of them, they have a check mark. This check mark indicates that I already have this on my Roku device. Selecting back on the Roku remote one more time, we can come down, new and updated, recommended, top free, movies and TV. This is a great place to hang out, especially if you're looking for something to watch for free. Again, you don't want to pay for Netflix, Hulu, things of that nature. Again, most of these will be ad supported in one way, shape, or form. Currently, my favorite is actually right here, Pluto TV. Great to check out if you have not done so already. Coming down, you can search for channels by name, and then Roku further breaks things down. Are you looking for movies and TVs, kids and family, etc.? So there's lots of things that you can go through in order to find a streaming channel that suits your particular streaming needs. Coming down again, we have My Feed. Now, My Feed is an interesting thing that if you search for something and you want to be notified when it comes to a particular streaming service on Roku, this is where you'd find that feed. So in this case, this is a BBC show called Ghost. It is currently included with your HBO subscription, nowhere else right now. But if we come down and do, hypothetically, Psych 3, you'll see you can get it on Peacock, requires a subscription. Coming back to the left, we have our My Offers. Again, this is advertising to you based on things that you have purchased. So if I come over here, they're trying to sell me upgraded earbuds. Coming down, we have settings. This is the heart of everything that you can do with your Roku. There's a lot to go through here. First being, coming over, network. If we select about, it will show us about our particular network. Coming down, we can check the connection. So if your Roku does not seem to be actively attached to your network, you can come in here and check the connection and force it to reset. You have setup connection, so you can come over here, select wireless, and then it's going to scan for networks in your area. This will do both 2.4 gigahertz as well as 5 gigahertz, which is great. So this will allow you to pick whatever works best for you. Again, 5 gigahertz will be faster speeds, but 2.4 gigahertz, longer range. So if you don't have a great access point, you can pick and choose what you need. Coming back, bandwidth saver, on or off. What this will do is pretty much put this Roku to sleep and stop streaming whatever is streaming after 4 hours. If your ISP happens to have data caps, this is something to consider in order to prevent you from going over your data cap because you fell asleep watching TV. Coming back over to the left, we're going to come down to remotes and devices now. Selecting over, well, right now you can see I'm on remotes. Selecting remote, well, I have a remote in use. If I show about, it's going to show me last used. However, coming down, set up a remote for TV control if you wanted to control your TV's volume and being able to power it on and off. This is how you can come in and set it up after the fact so that you can control your TV. And then you also have the option to forget your remote. You will have to put a PIN code in here. This is very useful, especially such as myself. If you have multiple Roku remotes and you just like the one you have and want to use it with the new Roku, but don't necessarily need the Roku remote that came with your device, but it's always going to start off paired to that device, you can remove it. But remember, you have to put the code in so you don't accidentally do that, which is a nice feature. Coming down, we've got our voice remote currently in use. You can see because it says parens, about, it says in use, battery level, all that other stuff. Setup, we went through this before, and forget. So coming back, you could set up a brand new device if you wanted to. You can have a Roku remote, again, because, well, this particular device only allows you to do a Roku remote, but I don't have an extra one to set up. But this is another way that you can add a Roku remote to your Roku device if you want to have two Roku remotes that are able to control it. Some people like that. Coming down, we have themes. Currently, if I come over, we have theme packs. So a theme pack is just basically, it will change every aspect of the way that your Roku looks and sounds. Again, right now, it is the New Year's theme, kind of a holiday overlay pushed by Roku. Your default Roku theme is right here, this purple one. You can set it as your theme pack, which I don't need to because it's already set, but I have the holiday one in the background. You have these other theme packs, which if I select one, you can view screenshots to let you know, hey, is this something I'd be interested in? And here you see it actually changes every aspect, including the screensaver. I'm going to select back and back one more time. And you've got several different ones. You've got a nautical theme, jungle, western, kids, space, and a romance one. The kids one is very interesting in that if you can deal with the pink background, this is the only one that does not show you ads while the screensaver is turned on. And speaking of, we're going to come back and come down to wallpapers, and we're going to get to our screensaver so I can show you. But the theme pack changes every aspect of your Roku. Sounds, looks, feels. Wallpapers are just, you change the wallpaper, the background. Sound effects don't change, they stay defaulted. The screensaver is also different, so it's not tied to a theme pack. So you can, again, select this. You can remove this wallpaper, view screenshots of this wallpaper. So here you go. Kind of has a nice winter feel to it. And we're going to select back. Coming down, we have our screensaver. Right now, I have the defaulted screensaver, which has a overlay for the holiday season. And here, you'll see what I'm talking about with the ads, because it's coming into view right now. On every Roku screensaver, except for the kids one, you will have an ad of some sort. Actually, you get multiple ads because there's multiple billboards that come through. If you select the play pause or the OK button on your Roku remote to try and bring yourself out of the screensaver, you will actually actively go to either the channel that's being shown you, or you will open up that particular TV show if you already have that channel installed. Selecting back on the Roku remote will allow me to show you if you can deal with the pink screensaver for kids. This does not have any ads, and I'll let it run for a little bit so that you can see, because with the other one, you saw fairly quickly that we actually had some ads showing up. But with this, you're not seeing any ads. It's very cartoonish and child-oriented, which is good on Roku for not having ads for a child service like this, but you could also use it to avoid ads yourself if you can deal with a pink theme. Keep in mind that the screensaver is separate from the theme pack. So you can have a wallpaper and a screensaver that are two different things. But if you do your theme pack, everything gets rolled into one. So we're going to come down to our sounds, which will allow us to either pick the default Roku, romance, western, space, aqua. Once again, we are coming down to additional settings. You have your seasonal themes on or off. So I have it on, and that replaces it with things like New Year's, 4th of July. It's nice to change things up. If you don't like that, simply turn it off. Coming down, screensaver wait time. How long does it wait before the screensaver comes on? In my case, I like to have it at 5 minutes, but the default is actually 10 minutes. And then if we want right here, if you've done crazy things to your Roku and you can't remember the settings or anything that you had for the screensaver theme and sounds, simply come down to restore default and select restore, and it will push you all the way back to what the Roku was like before you started playing with things. Coming down, we have display type, Selecting over, you can have auto detect, but if you know what you're doing, you also have 4K Dolby Vision TV, 4K HDR TV, 4K TV, 1080, and then 720. Normally, it's just easier to let it auto detect for you, and you don't have to worry about it. Next, we have accessibility. There are a lot of options under accessibility for your Roku device. First being caption mode. You can have this off, on always, or on reply. Caption preferences, you have your language, and then caption style. In here, I will admit, if we come over, there are a lot of different things that you can do for your closed captioning. And you'll see every time you make a choice, it shows up over there on the right. So if you are somebody who needs this kind of assistance, know that there are lots of choices for you for your captioning style. Likewise, you have access to a screen reader, so on or off, speech rate, again, for that screen reader, volume, how loud do you need it to be, and then shortcut, enable or disable. So if you need to turn one of those on or off, you can quickly press the options button on your Roku remote 4 times very quickly, like this. So there we have our screen reader enabled. So keep in mind, I did not change any of the options for the screen reader, and that's what it would sound like by default. Now, in my case, I'm going to turn it off because that might be a little much to have going on while we're going through the rest of the walkthrough. Selecting back on our Roku remote takes us out of accessibility and over to audio. So here we have our menu volume. So that's the clicking sounds that you've been hearing as I've been going through the menus. Right now it's on medium. You can have it at high, or you can turn it off entirely. Audio preferred language. I have it at English, but there's lots of choices that you can do. Streaming audio format, auto, Dolby, or DTS. Again, if you're not sure what is what, leave it on auto. Digital output format. Again, I leave it at audio, but you have options for stereo or custom. My particular setup with the TV that I have this plugged into, don't really have those options, but if you did, there would be more things for you to play with. Coming down, we have our home screen. Now notice there are these things that I was telling you about before, the Ring in the New Year, or Ring in 2020, which I didn't see before, but if I didn't want to, I can hide it. Featured free, if I don't like that, I can hide it. Movie stores, I can hide it. Offers, can hide that too. Shortcuts, add channel or turn off TV, those actually appear in the channel grid. They don't bother me too much, but I'm going to quickly select back so that you can see right here, my side menu has gotten much smaller since I got rid of those featured free stuff and the offers. So we're going to come back to our settings and move on from home screen to payment method. Now, payment method, I'm not going to show because it shows your credit card. Yes, you do need to have a credit card attached to your Roku account in order for you to set up an account. The reason this is done is in order for you to, if you use your Roku to pay for something like Netflix or Hulu, they want to be able to bill you accordingly. That's why you have to add a payment method. Apple AirPlay and HomeKit, cannot actually tell you about this. I do not have any Apple devices in my home. Legal notice, you have your privacy policy, terms of use, and then terms and conditions. Privacy, important. Pay attention to this. Advertising. Well, like I said, Roku is an ad platform, and everything that you watch and do on it is monetizable. But if you want to limit what Roku can actually track about you or kind of anonymize what they get about you, you simply select this, and that will limit targeted advertising that you would see. Now, if you happen to forget to turn this on first and have been using your Roku device for some time, make sure to come down here and reset your advertiser identifier. This way, anything that they have on you gets anonymized. Microphone, well, you do need your microphone to access specific areas of your Roku device and your actual streaming channels. Coming over, channel microphone access, you either get prompted, always allow or never allow. I leave it at prompt because some channels need access to that, but I want them to tell me before they access it. Likewise, channel permissions, if you wanted to change it to something different and were using your Roku remote before, make sure to reset your channel permissions. Help, we have voice help, which will allow you to use your Roku remote, or you have Roku tips and tricks. This is actually a channel that is preloaded on your Roku device. Likewise, when you first create your account and start your Roku for the first time, if you don't skip it, it walks you through some of the basic functionality of your Roku device. Selecting back, we come down to system. A lot of important stuff in here. We have About, which is going to, again, show your email address attached to your Roku device, serial number, all that fun stuff. So I'm not going to show that. We now come down to Time. So time zone, for me, Eastern, set automatically or set manually. Clock format, do you like a 12-hour or 24-hour, or do you just want to shut your clock off entirely so you don't see it in the upper right-hand corner there? Control other devices. So we have our one-touch play. What this means is if your TV happens to be on a different HDMI port than the Roku, when the Roku first starts, it will say, hey, do you want to switch to me? And you say yes. So I like leaving that on. Language, again, many facets, many choices. I leave it at English because that's my speaking language. Screen mirroring. So again, if you want to be able to mirror a screen from a mobile device, this is where you'd have to allow that to happen. You can have it prompt you, always or never allow. And then screen mirroring devices. Currently, I do not have any, but you can have block devices as well, only because I don't really need to screen mirror my phone for this particular thing. We have system update. You can see on the right-hand side, if we bring that in, the last time it checked for an update, as well as the last day it actually updated. It will also show you the software version and the build. If you want to check for an update, you simply select check now, and whether there's something there or not. So there's not, so we hit OK. Just know when you start your Roku device for the first time for that day, it will automatically perform a check. Here we come down to power. We have auto power off saving. So after 20 minutes of no interaction, it will automatically power down the Roku stick. System restart. Well, if you, for whatever reason, need to restart your system, this is not factory resetting your Roku stick. This is merely telling it to pretty much turn itself on and off again without having to unplug it. Guest mode. Enter guest mode. You have to put in a PIN. But what guest mode will allow you to do is have somebody, whether it be a pet sitter, babysitter, whatever, use your Roku device and the streaming channels that you have on your device utilizing their login credentials and not yours. So this is a nice feature to have. Advanced system settings. You have factory reset, which is the Hail Mary, puts it back to exactly as it was when you first got it out of the box. You do need to put in PIN code here because it does set it back to exactly how it was before you got it. Network connection reset. Well, let's say it seems like it's not connecting to your Wi-Fi network, but you know that it's working. You simply come in here, select reset connection, and it will automatically kick itself off whatever network it was on and then reestablish a connection. Control by mobile apps. We have network access, which is default, permissive, or disabled. Network access means if you have the Roku app on a smartphone and both your Roku device and the smartphone are on the same network, you'll be able to control the Roku with the app on your mobile phone. Advanced display settings. Well, we come over here. This allows you to have adaptive refresh rates. I leave this off, but some people like it. If you want to have a more adaptive refresh rate for your screen from the Roku device, this is where you would come in and change it. And back one more time. Third-party license, just like it sounds, is all about the third-party licensing that comes along with using a Roku device, because that was the last area for the navigation for your Roku Streaming Stick 4K.